All right, it's July 3rd, 2024, and this Wednesday. Thank you for tuning in here. We've got some weather to talk about. That's why I'm here. And we're going to start off in the tropics. We're going to go over to the mainland where we've got some big time severe weather and flooding issues coming up. But first off, we got to talk about Hurricane Beryl, right? Okay, it's still Category 4 hurricane right now. You can see it on satellite down here, getting ready to slam into Jamaica, probably causing some pretty significant damage as it does that. And then look out in front of it. It's going this way, and there's nothing really stopping it from continuing to be a big problem as it goes right towards the Yucatan Peninsula and then eventually into the Gulf of Mexico. This is what Hurricane Beryl looks like up close and personal right now. And to be quite honest, it doesn't look that impressive. Like, this doesn't look that good to me. You can't really see the eye. You can definitely see the rotation there. There's some big thunderstorms popping up around that central area of low pressure, but it's really not nearly as impressive as it was the other day. About 36 hours ago, Hurricane Beryl was a major Category 5 hurricane, the earliest Category 5 hurricane ever, as far as we know. And as expected, it has started to weaken a little bit. But even right now, it is really impressive. And I'm going to talk a lot more about that as we go further into this video. But first, like I said, we've got stuff to talk about here on the mainland. Severe weather risk today for about 10 million people along the Ohio River Valley, back up into the Front Range, over into the northern plains. This is going to be a pretty significant severe weather day, especially in terms of wind and hail, and especially on the western extent. This is mostly going to be a damaging wind threat over here in the Ohio Valley and in the Midwest, but there's going to be some big storms back there in western Nebraska. I think that's where the biggest significant risk is. You can see the Storm Prediction Center here has a 15% hatched risk of significant hail over here in Nebraska. They've also got the wind risk significant over there in northwestern Kansas and southwestern portions of Nebraska, a little bit of Colorado as well. And, even though wind is the main threat over here along the Ohio River Valley back into the Midwest, it's not quite as significant. These are going to be your garden variety severe thunderstorms in the Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri region there. Tornadoes are definitely not going to be the main threat today, but we can't rule out a tornado or two over there in Nebraska. Tomorrow, July 4th, there's going to be more than just your traditional fireworks going on, especially in Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and a little bit of Arkansas. There's a little bit of a warm frontal boundary that'll also be causing some heavy rain and some storms in Kentucky, West Virginia, and Virginia as well over towards the Mid-Atlantic region. But these are going to be pulse storms that happen during the heating of the day, and hopefully most of those will be dying off by the time the sun goes down and we start to do our Independence Day celebrations. But a little bit more organization back there in Missouri. We might have some rainouts. And then as we go into July 5th on the day 3 outlook here, we have a general risk of thunderstorms for pretty much everybody in the country except for California. And probably the best chance of seeing severe weather is going to be in Kentucky and Ohio over there. Let's track these storms on our simulated radar. You can see already by about 4 p.m. today, we're going to see some big storms popping up around St. Louis, over towards Indianapolis. These are going to be our damaging wind makers today as they cross into Louisville, maybe around 10 p.m. tonight. They're going to be mostly non-existent. They're really going to die out pretty quick, and the attention is going to shift back over here towards Nebraska about 6 or 7 p.m. Big time thunderstorms capable of producing large hail, damaging winds, and isolated tornadoes. Those will carry into the overnight and early morning hours on Thursday. We're going to see some isolated severe weather as we get into about 3 or 4 a.m., especially in southern portions of Nebraska and northeastern portions of Kansas. The prime time severe weather threat today is going to be from about 5 p.m. until about midnight, and then things are really going to calm down a lot. Things spark back up on July 4th during our Independence Day celebrations. I think the barbecue, I think the cookout might be a little bit of a problem as far as a rainout goes in places like northern Arkansas, Kentucky, southern portions of Indiana, Tennessee, West Virginia. Those isolated pop-up big-time gully washers are going to be a problem here. But look at what happens as we go into the evening. Things do start to calm down a little bit as far as the coverage goes with these storms, but the big-time severe weather risk that we're tracking as far as that slight risk goes actually doesn't even organize until later in the evening. So about 9 or 10 p.m., this is when we can expect to see some of the stronger storms in St. Louis, down into southern portions of Missouri, down into the Boot Heel there, maybe even making it into Memphis and Nashville during the early morning hours on Friday in the form of strong, damaging winds. All right, so now that we've got the near-term severe weather risk out of the way, let's go back to Beryl real quick. Category 4 right now, 144 mile per hour winds. Max gust says 201 miles per hour. I think that the graphic just hasn't updated yet. That's probably closer to, 160, 165 mile per hour winds. Still crazy stuff getting ready to happen in Jamaica and then over towards the Cayman Islands. But look at how quickly we expect this to potentially weaken all the way down to a Category 1 as it goes over towards the Yucatan Peninsula. And then it's going to go back into the Gulf, and we do expect it to kind of strengthen back up, maybe to a Category 1, maybe even a Category 2 before getting really close to making a landfall near Texas way back there on Monday. Okay, so we're way into the future here. A lot can change. It's probably going to maintain a little bit more strength than what this forecast is suggesting. A lot of times these are quite conservative, but I really don't think it's going to be a Cat 4 or a Cat 5 by the time it gets to northern Mexico or the southern part of Texas. That is where it's going. It's important to point out that Hurricane Beryl isn't the only area of interest in the tropics right now either. We've got another disturbance with a decent chance of forming into a storm here soon right behind Beryl, going the same exact direction. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that one as well. Right now, no major organization, nothing to worry about really, but this is a pretty good sign that this hurricane season is going to be quite active, just as we thought it was going to be. Now, where's Beryl going to go after it gets into northern Mexico or southern portions of Texas? That's pretty much up in the air. The forecast models are all over the place, but the GEFS ensembles here have really kind of nailed into a pretty significant curve, keeping the storm maybe over the water a little while longer and maybe coming up closer to places like Corpus Christi, maybe even Houston. There's a very slight chance that the storm even goes far enough east once it's in the Gulf to maybe make landfall in Louisiana. Now, that's extremely unlikely. I still think that a southern Texas landfall is going to be our most likely scenario. However, if it does cut a little bit farther north and go up towards Louisiana or even southeastern Texas, the longer it's over the Gulf of Mexico, the more time it's going to have to re-strengthen. So if it does start to trend more in this direction, we unfortunately have to be really concerned about a major impact here in the States. But let's not even worry about that right now. I just wanted to show you the idea here. The latest European model really tears the storm apart before it gets to the Yucatan Peninsula. It does show it trying to form back up, maybe gain a little bit of strength over the Gulf of Mexico, but it shows landfall here in Mexico, south of Texas, pretty much exactly what most of the models are showing there. Not a huge deal for a lot of people here in the States, but some of those trends are pointing in the other direction, so I'm going to keep watching it, and I'll let you know when it's time to be concerned about that. Otherwise, the energy from the hurricane is really going to be trying to pull down this trough here, okay? So we're going to have a big area of much cooler air dropping into the central U.S. during this time period, and then as a result of that, the amplitude of the trough is going to allow for a huge ridge in the west. This is going to cause a legitimate heat wave here in California, maybe all the way up into British Columbia. This is going to be a very significant hot and dry spell starting this weekend, going all the way through next week in the western portion of the U.S. It's not just me saying that. The Climate Prediction Center agrees. Huge 6 to 10 day temperature probability outlook. Anomalies here, much warmer than average in the west, much cooler than average right there in the central U.S., and then, a little bit warmer on the eastern side. Where these two air masses meet, where the Gulf of Mexico is so hot right now and so active, I do expect that we're going to see an increased area of rain and thunderstorms along this corridor. Whenever we get that cooler air in place and it's kind of smushing up against really warm air over here, we're probably going to see several rounds of heavy rain and thunderstorms right in this area, so get ready for that. Here's how much rain we could see over the next week. Lots of rain down here in Texas thanks to our tropical system. Lots of rain down there in Louisiana as well. An increased corridor of heavier rain from Kansas over through St. Louis and into Kentucky. This is associated with our scattered thunderstorm risks that we're going to be seeing over the next couple of days. Some of these storms are going to be really intense and they might train over the same areas over and over again, leading to flash flooding. So get ready for that in places like Louisville, all the way back there towards central Missouri, eastern Kansas. And then another hot spot, once again, more rain up here in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Unfortunately, you guys have gotten enough rain, but more is on the way, maybe over 2 to 3 inches over the next week. And I mentioned tomorrow being July 4th, Kinsey, our marketing director extraordinaire, the person who's in charge of our wonderful website, shopryanhall.com, has just reminded me that there is going to be a sale on apparel and accessories tomorrow, 20% off all of that stuff over at shopryanhall.com. If you want to support us, you can go right on over here to this website and buy something. It goes a long way to help us pay everybody that needs to be paid to make this channel possible and help us expand, help us get more people and more equipment and stuff to be able to do more stuff in the future. So we've got some really cool items over here. While you are just basking in the glory that is Independence tomorrow, consider going over to our website and buying something here. And if you're not into a jacket or a shirt or anything like that, we've got practical stuff. We've got weather radios. We've got the Tempest weather system on here. If you're already wanting some snow, hey, we got Yolometers. All right, go ahead and get you a Yolometer 2.0 in preparation for this winter. And the sale doesn't end until the 7th at midnight. Okay, so if you're too busy independencing tomorrow, lighting fireworks, eating chicken, whatever it is, you've got all the way till the 7th month to take advantage of this sale, okay? So just bookmark it, shopryanhall.com. Lots of cool stuff over there, and once again, it helps us so much, and it keeps us from having to, do commercials too often. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye. Ooh.